Today, my guest is Marguerite Seguin, who I met at Replanova Farm. She was a part-time farm worker, part-time store worker, and she has sort of moved on. She's still there once a month-ish, but she is doing some pretty cool stuff. So, Marguerite, thank you so much for being here. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good. It's a
Good.
beautiful sunny day.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yes. So Marguerite is working for full time currently. She has been for a couple years at least teaching kids gardening and other stuff. So you were teaching gardening at a
Yep.
school, and now you're a bit of distance. You're like an hour-ish away, and you're teaching kids other like outdoor stuff. Is that like
Outdoor stuff. Yeah, that's about it.
yeah?
Yeah, I was doing some school gardening after I graduated from college in Lewiston, and now I am on the coast as an environmental educator. And outdoor stuff really does cover it because we learn about winter ecology and we go on hikes and we're just outside doing fun stuff. So, yeah, that's about right.
Cool. All right. And you were saying that you are moving on and you're going to be teaching 4-H, which is also outdoor stuff and also very cool and environmental studies. And you said you don't really have a plan for that. Like you don't have a set, um, like curriculum or anything.
Yeah, so the role I'm going to be stepping into, like I'm working with 4-H now as an environmental educator on the coast, and now I'm going to Oxford County to be the 4-H youth development professional. So I will be delivering some programs, and I think it's self-designed. So I'm going to go and see what people in the community are interested in me teaching, but I'm also going to support the programs that are already there. So the numerous clubs that are happening and the Bryant Pond camp. And so also just developing programs as well. So it's a bit of a, mixed bag of what I'll be doing.
You must love the idea of developing programs.
I
That's
do.
really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's something I'm pretty decent at of like looking at what a program looks like and then thinking about how it can be better. Like when I came into this role for the after school program here at Blueberry Cove in St. George, Maine, I was like, oh, like, just like we could ask the question of the day during snack time, or we can finish the day with shout outs, or maybe we should have a positive pal job so kids like they have little secret missions and they have to like see how someone's day was, or like if someone's feeling sad, comfort them. So it's just I really enjoy just being like, how can this be better and run smoother and build relationships with the kids? And yeah, so it is definitely my jam.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool. And um, I just, I love that you are teaching the next generation to appreciate and respect the earth and to just take care of it. Like I think that's amazing. I mean, we did not grow up like that. You know, I grew up in the 80s and we had all the damaging stuff, and the computers were just becoming a back in my day, computers were just coming around. Uh, but we were encouraged to do a lot of stuff inside and, learn computers and play video games because it was so new and cool, and make sure to study so you can be a doctor and, stuff like that. And I think it's so important, not that, but, to also have the outdoor time, to have the fresh air and the vitamin D, which is so good for us, and also just interacting with other kids, because if you're at a desk, you're not getting that.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
discouraged.
I think it's funny when you're teaching kids to like love the earth, and I'm just thinking about like the kids today running after squirrels with wooden stakes and us being like, no, no,
Not that kind of playing, not that kind of loving.
no. So trying to teach an appreciation, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're having fun.
They are, yeah. They're outside. They're outside.
Exactly. And I mean, but you're going to be teaching them, well, maybe not these kids, but teaching during the winter is hard, but come spring, you're going to be doing gardening and building and animals and stuff like that, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think um it's also about like creating more intentional moments with, animals and plants, and like it's not all steaks and squirrels. It's also like yesterday we were at the beach and I showed a kid like how you can identify where clams are, and we found a clam and we checked it out and we touched it, and then we're like, oh, let's put the clam back in its home, and why do we put the clam back? And so that, it I think it is really nice, yeah.
It's appreciating life.
Kids are, yeah, I think the kids do have an appreciation. You definitely have to work on it, but they do, yeah.
And so you can tell where the clam is because there's like a little bubble hole, right?
Yeah, there's a little hole, yeah. The scientific term, bubble hole.
Yes. That's a technical term. I learned it in a book. Um, but so Marguerite, how did you get to this point? Like you said that you started teaching gardening out of college, but
Yeah.
and so you were taking environmental studies in college, right?
Yeah, so I try to think back, like in high school, I was like, I want to be an environmental lawyer, or I knew I wanted to do something environmental because like I had grown up camping in northern Maine, and it was something I really valued as an experience. And I also noticed there was a lot of logging that happened where we went camping, and so that's what I wrote my college essay on, was like, let's protect the forest. And then I was like, oh, environmental research is what I want to do. And I think that's because college is so research focused. But then when I did an environmental research internship, I was like, maybe not environmental research. But during that internship, I worked with a group of high schoolers for a week, a group of high school girls, and we did environmental science, and we looked at macroinvertebrates in the river, and we, created a little restoration ecology site map, and like it was awesome. It was that week was the best part of that internship, and from that I was like, oh, I want to do environmental education. Like I like working with youth. It's really fun. They're sassy and silly and have a lot of fresh energy, and it's fun to also share things that you're excited about with other people and have them get excited about it. So from there I just kind of continued to do like environmental education things. I did like city sprouts and did gardening and cooking with middle schoolers, and then I did the food project, and that was farming with high schoolers, and then I did food corps after college, which is teaching kids how to garden and teaching them how to cook and teaching them about garden ecology. So yeah, I think it, if we try to go back to the beginning, I think it started from just like having really positive experiences of being outside as a youth and just really valuing those experiences, and then finding out in college that, oh, like I really like to share what I'm excited about and curious about and love with youth in particular. So that was kind of my pathway to where I am now. Yeah.
That's very cool. So what you said, city food, city core,
City sprouts.
city sprouts.
Yeah.
What's city sprouts?
So city sprouts, they have programming that happens during the school year, but I did a summer fellowship with them where a group of middle schoolers, this is what the program looked like at the time at least. A group of middle schoolers come and they go to different sites depending on where they live in Boston and Cambridge, but they come all day for 6 weeks during the week, and they learn how to cook, they learn how to garden, they're learning about environmental science, they're building relationships. They get paid to do it because they're like effectively caring for the school garden. And then they also do like they work on a project and they present on it at the end. So like one kid really loved slugs and she like did a slug project, but another kid was really excited about emulsions. So he like taught people at the science fair about emulsions. So that was City Sprouts, and that was also a lot of fun.
That's very cool. I mean, so
Yeah.
it sounds sort of like homeschooling ish, like, you know, kids get to be a little bit more free with their curriculum and pick something that they want to learn about and do a lot of research and reporting and stuff like that, which I think is so cool. You know, it's not like you're telling them what they're going to be interested in. They are choosing something and you're encouraging that, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and I think too for me it really like I remember the first day I was training for that, um, fellowship, and like we had to like a big part of City Sprouts is the kids prepare their own lunch every day using fresh vegetables. And I did not really know how to cook. And when I was cutting a tomato, I cut myself and I was bleeding. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to teach kids how to do this? But
Do as I say, not as I do.
yeah. But like it for me, it really taught me the importance, like making that connection between like not only teaching kids gardening, which is really important, like how to like, find ways to access fresh food for yourself in like a cheaper way, but also like you need to teach people how to cook too. Like kids need to learn how to cook too, so that what they're growing they can actually use. So that was just a really important experience for me as well, and just tied together the importance of gardening and cooking.
Well, so you were teaching them and teaching yourself at the same time.
I was, yeah. I learned a lot, like how to just even cook rice that summer, So it
That's
was,
really interesting because you look so comfortable in the kitchen.
I thank you.
Mhm. You manage a lot of stuff, and I cannot do that.
I try, yeah.
Cool. So now you're okay. You're going to be doing 4-H, and you're going to be moving back to this area, which is very exciting. Um,
Yeah.
woohoo. Uh, what? I mean, what's next? I mean, I know you're going to be doing 4-H, but I mean, do you have a plan for, um, what you want to do? Do you plan to just stay with 4-H for a while, or play that by ear? Do you want to
Yeah.
settle?
Well, so I mean, a few things. Like, I am very interested in being an environmental educator, primarily a garden and food based educator, but those kind of positions are hard to come by. There's not a lot of them that aren't seasonal or that offer health insurance. So, what I'm doing with 4-H is I'm really excited because I'm going to be, working with other programs that already exist and supporting those, but I'll also get to do a bit of the teaching that I love doing myself. But yeah, so I mean that's what's next for me, and I think long term I'm just most excited about teaching and being an out, like I want to be outside, I want to be working with kids outside. So whatever leads me there and getting to do that with most of my days is what I'm excited about. Um yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. That's awesome. And is that a sweater or a blanket that you have on you? That's beautiful.
It is in fact a scarf. Yeah, and there's no heat in the building where I am at Blueberry Cove, so I'm like all bundled right now. Yeah.
Oh, one more week.
One more week.
Oh, goodness. Wow. But so you said Massachusetts. So you were doing some stuff in Massachusetts. Are you from Massachusetts?
No, I'm from Lewiston,
Okay.
and I went to college in Massachusetts, and I was like, I'm gonna live in Boston. That's where I'm gonna be, and that's where I was for a couple summers. I was in Cambridge and Boston with City Sprouts, and then I was in on the North Shore, which is north of Boston, for the Food Project, which is the what I did the following summer. And then after I graduated college, I found a job with Food Corps in Lewiston, and I was like, oh well, that would be great. Like I will move back home, and it was great. It was fantastic, and it's been nice to like I thought I think a lot of people from Lewiston are like, we're not moving back to Lewiston, we're moving away, but I think a lot of us do move back to Lewiston, and it's nice to like that's where my family is, and that's where my community is. So, and it's also nice that I just feel like I have these connections and this network that I have, in virtue of having grown up here. And that's nice. And it's nice to continue to grow that. Like from Lewiston to the coast and now to Oxford County, like I feel like I'm really developing this awesome network of people who are excited to do what I'm doing. So yeah, I happy to be in Maine again.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I would think, I mean, I think that we all think that I'm moving out. I'm out of here and, not coming back. And I mean, I did the same thing. I left for a year, but I've been here for a long, long time. But I think especially in your situation where you're teaching people, like you're kind of molding the next generation to improve the area, to make it better, which I know, there's a lot of Maine that kind of went through a rough patch and could use a little zhuzh, maybe. But I think that, especially if Lewiston is a city, and so to grow, the Lewiston area is city, of course, outside the Oxford area, I don't think is, but they're to take advantage of the green space and to make something of that and to have the fresh food available because it's not a super, I'm trying to make words and they're not coming out right, but
But yeah,
there are a lot of people that don't have access to the fresh foods, it seems like.
yeah. Well, so that did feel great for me after college, coming back to my community and like getting to be part of something that I feel like helps serve the community of like, yeah, there's not for kids, there's not a lot of access to green spaces. For kids, they're not always interacting with like vegetables and fruits in a more hands-on way or even on their plates.
Mm,
So yeah, and it was awesome to like just garden with kids, be outside with kids, and then like to harvest something from the garden and bring it in. And then like we made popcorn from corn that we grew, or like we made salsa from the tomatoes that we grew, and like just getting to show kids that whole process of like we can grow something and then we can use it, and you can do this. And
right.
um so yeah, it felt good to be doing that in my community. Yeah.
For sure. Well, the start to finish project is so important because if you show up with a raised bed and you're like, you just could put the seeds in and water it, and then this is what it's going to be like in 3 months. It's not like they can't see that happen, and the first parts seem like harder, I sort of like, because you can't see it and you don't, you're reading a packet or whatever, and like how does that actually become something? But so to be able to do the start to finish, it seems like it would be a really good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, from like prepping the beds to planting the seeds to taking care of it to harvesting to putting the beds um to bed for the winter. Like they're part of the whole process.
Right.
I think something I haven't really touched on is like, so during my time at Food Corps, I advocated for the creation of a garden teacher position at the school. And then it got created, and then I did that position for a year. And I think that's really important too. Like, I know your podcast is about sustainability, and that was like a big thing I thought about during my time at Food Corps. Like, I worked at the same school. I worked at a school called Connors Elementary School in Lewiston. And I worked there as a Food Corps service member. And then I proposed the creation of the position. The position got created, and then I worked again in that position. I'm repeating myself. But when I was a Food Corps service member, I was like, Food Corps, AmeriCorps, these are just programs meant to build capacity. And I thought, and that's not really sustainable. Like, AmeriCorps isn't designed to like foot the bill for garden education or environmental education forever. Like, you're trying to build programs that can thrive on their own. And I did that. And so it is really fulfilling to look back and think about how I created this sustainable program where kids are going to be, planting garlic in the fall. And every kid participates in this garden class now. For the
Everyone?
Everyone, yeah, all 700 of them at Maine's largest elementary school.
Oh
They'll
my
plant garlic
gosh.
in the fall, and then they get to harvest it the next summer, and then we have garlic for the cooking in the winter the next year. So, yeah, I think just thinking about sustainability, like I think part of sustainability is creating those sustainable programs too.
For
So yeah,
sure. Yeah. And I think, I mean, there are so many things to like gardening and farming and stuff that are, I think are just so, they're so valuable and so much more than just like having your own food, but really in your position as an educator, and I know I said this in the beginning, but like teaching kids and, you know, people in general to appreciate, to honor, to respect, to raise these things, and then to use them, like you were saying, you know, going from garden to cooking. And there's the whole like, I keep hearing how the school lunches are like not doing great, and you know, like I hear that there's so much of the food that we grow that ends up leaving the state, and like why I just I don't really understand that. It doesn't make sense to me that, you know, if the kids learned how to garden and the kids had a place to go outside and raise a garden, and then, you know, they can eat that food, and then they have healthy fresh food, and then we don't have to do, you know, french fries and fish sticks or whatever, like whatever it is that they're eating. But you know, even to have that option, I think that it just seems it, I don't know all the politics about it or the economics, but it just seems like, you know, if kids need the fresh food and and they are able to grow the fresh food, it would be
yeah,
so cool for them to just appreciate that and to
yeah.
understand where it's coming from.
Yeah,
I'm
I think that's the dream of any school garden educator is to grow stuff to use in the cafeteria. And we did do that during my time there. Like we grew a bunch of kale in the fall and then we harvested it. And then the sixth grade made kale chips for a taste test at the cafeteria. So, and I think some schools throughout Maine are also doing that. Like I know Troy Howard Middle School, I think they do tomatoes and then they sell like a ton of tomatoes to the cafeteria, so much so that they have like a contract with the cafeteria. Like, so I think that is the vision of like getting the kids to grow what's on their plate. And like, there's just, it's like, it's, I just am coming from this background of like when I was doing that work of like, you know, we would grow stuff and then we would make it and then the kids would be really excited to try it and eat it. And I feel like in this different position, like we'll just, for instance, we'll have like hummus snack for a day. We'll give it to the kids, and the kids don't know what it is, so they don't want to eat it. And just like, but the kale chips, when the kids planted the kale, watered the kale, harvested the kale, prepared the kale, like they were so much more excited to eat it. So it's like it's just all connected to each other. Of like, if you want kids to eat healthier, if you want to have local food in your cafeteria, if you want kids to develop a sense of responsibility, if you want kids to know how to garden, like you have to create these interconnected systems that allow them to that work off each other. You know, we can grow food for the school cafeteria and then kids will eat it because they grew it, you know.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. And it just seems like, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like every school should have. I think every school should have a garden. I'm going to say it. I think they should all have a garden. You know, there's got to be a place at every school. If there's a playground, make a little square box or something. I don't know.
Well, I think most schools would agree with you. I think it's hard when there's not like, for instance, a garden teacher or like a garden coordinator position in place because schools are just, it's crazy the amount of work teachers and administrators have to do at schools. And I think it's just like another thing. And that's why I proposed like the creation of a position at school. And why I'm excited about that kind of work is because like teachers just don't have the capacity to try to like do that, you know, like classroom teachers. So it's like, I don't know. And there are classroom teachers can do it, and there are models for that. But like it, yeah, it's hard to raise grant
Add one
money to
more
build a
thing.
school garden. It's another thing. But yeah, there's like I don't know if there's a bill or like legislation that people are trying to pass about school gardens, but there is an exciting bill called like Outdoor School for All that people are trying to pass in Maine, where I think students like from fourth through eighth grade would have to go to like an environmental education center like twice a year or something, or once a year. And so I think there is, you know, people are pushing for, you know, legislation where in Maine where people where they want kids to be at least outside, but it would be great if all schools had a school garden too. But there's exciting stuff happening here in Maine, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great. So what else are you up to, Marguerite? I mean,
Oh
because I know you were
gosh.
saying that you organize group outings as well, so for your friends. But what do you do for fun?
Yeah, I mean, so I run a organization. It's not official, but we're trying to pursue nonprofit status. It's called LA It's Happening Queer. And I realized only the other day that, oh, that might not make sense to most people who don't know about Lewiston Auburn's image marketing campaign from like the early 2000s, where they had this little logo that said LA, it's happening here, to tell other people that Lewiston Auburn
So,
has stuff going on for it. But when I was like talking with my co-conspirator, Alex, about like organization names or what we could call it ourselves, I was like, oh, I just love this logo. And they were like, oh my gosh, what if it was LA It's Happening Queer? And I'm like, oh my God, it's brilliant. And now I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense for other people. But anyway, sorry. So yes, we organize events for the queer community of Lewiston, Auburn, and whoever wants to drive, because people do drive. And yeah, we do a monthly nature walk. We're going to Rang Pond this Sunday. And we also do a monthly bar night at Obscura Cafe in Lewiston, and they've been awesome. And then we also do other events like a plant swap, or we might do an open mic night. So that also takes up some of my time as like planning events for the queer community. And that's been really awesome. I've met a lot of cool people, and yeah.
that's really fun. I mean, you get to change it up, which is, I mean, you're like in charge, so you get to change it up if you feel like it, depending on
Yeah,
the season or whatever. That's super fun. And
it
outdoor
is.
activities, of course, because you're involved.
Yes, of course there's
Fun.
outdoor.
Fun. So, Marguerite, when I say the word sustainability, what does that mean to you? I know it's a big word, but I'm just curious what it means to you because I want to learn about people.
Yeah. Um, and it's hard to answer too, because I feel like, you do environmental studies in college and you try to live sustainably and you like teach about sustainability, but then like when you have to define it, you're like, yeah, what what does this actually like? I'm working towards this, but what does it actually mean? Um, so I think sustainability is like preserving things for our future selves and future generations. I think some things are already in a bad state, and that's no good. Oh gosh, this is a hard question, Amy.
Sorry.
Um,
Do you I can give you a little bit of time if you want. I can
no.
no.
I mean, I think I basically agree. I mean, yeah, just things are there for us in the future. It's clean air and clean water and land and cool animals, and we can and it's not just about like humans too. It's also sustainability for non-human living things. And also I think sustainability is like, even environmental sustainability is connected to like economic sustainability. And like, I don't think if we have a very exploitative like system of how we do business, like that's not going to lend itself to environmental sustainability. So
Mm,
I view it as like environmental sustainability is living things, being able to keep doing the living thing in the future, but also like if we think about humans in particular, like we have to think about, how can we take care of ourselves also, so that we can have that environmental sustainability as well.
mm. It's so big and there's so many different like facets to it. And so, if you start to think about it, you're like, ooh, there are so many things for sure. I mean, one of mine is to create less waste. So like less plastic. I need to, not contribute to that. But and I was taking some pictures this morning because I want to do a big, not a big, I want to do a post about littering.
Yeah.
Because it's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
It is.
But that's, I mean, it's a hard word to describe, but I think that was really deep, actually. You know, the economic and environmental, it all meshes together, and we have to make everything jive to continue. And that's, you know, that's the thing. Like, we're here right now. We need to make it so that we can continue to be here. And not
Yeah.
just us, but everyone, you know, the animals and the plants and, you know, everything.
And it's like, if you think about like sustainable farming in particular, and if you want people to do sustainable farming or even grow food for themselves, like those sustainable farming positions need to pay people and they need to have health insurance and you need to do the things that, you know, like some people with more wealth might be able to take those positions. And but like if you want more people to be doing that, and like who's, you know, we, but um then those also need to be sustainable for people. Or like if we want people to be growing their own food, they need the time, they need the energy, they need to be able to access the resources, they need land. So um yeah, I do think environmental sustainability for humans in particular relies a lot on, you know, that economic sustainability as well. Like it's not sustainable for people to be working jobs that don't pay them and don't give them health insurance, because they're going to leave those jobs if they can, you know, if they can.
Right.
So, yeah, I do think it is all interconnected.
Well, and of course the farmers who would be hiring help are not making loads of money either, unless
Right.
they're doing
Yeah.
like wholesale. So, you know, they're not making tons of money, so they can't afford to pay help a ton of,
Right.
you know, enough to live on. And it's just it's such a bad cycle, but it just is, you know, and then people don't want to pay for the produce and the food at the prices that it actually costs.
Right.
So
Well,
it's a
and they're
rough
also,
cycle.
yeah, and these local farmers are competing with like big companies that are making tons of money and but are not paying people the amount of profit that they're making. Like that's, you know, matching what they're making. So
Right.
um yeah, of course local farmers who are paying for people to you know, work the farm are struggling because it's just they're competing with like these giant corporations. And how do you do that? Yeah.
Right. And so how that that's just that's a rough little can of worms. That's for sure.
It is. It is.
We could go really deep into that, but that we don't have a ton of time. But so, Marguerite, how if somebody wants to find you and say, I want to learn more about what Marguerite is doing because she is leading the way. She is leading the way for the
I don't know
kids,
about that.
and she's very cool. Or I want to go to LA. What is it?
LA, it's happening
It's
queer.
happening queer. I was trying to where it's. I was like, I can't make those words right. But so LA, it's happening queer. If you want to join them at one of their activities, how can people like, you know, find you or your groups? Or I mean, I know you're at Replanova once a month, and I don't know when you are.
Yeah.
I happen upon I run into someone at the grocery store, and they're like, Marguerite's there, and I'm hightailing it out to go see you.
Yeah, I think if people want to bank on me being at Replanova one Saturday a month and just hope that I'm there, that's a possibility. No. So our the LA It's Happening Queer has a Facebook page by that name, and you can find that organization there. And then I don't know. I feel like the best way to contact me is probably through email. I don't have you know, I'm
You're
just
not
a
on socials.
educator. I mean, I'm on Facebook if you want to try to find me on Facebook, but I'm not very good with the Facebook. I know I'm young, but like, I can people find me? Strangers find me? I don't know. So, if people want to email me, you could give my email out, or they could find my organization on Facebook.
Cool. Okay. That's legit. I mean, you're a busy girl. You're teaching, you know, you're leading the way. You're starting a
Yeah.
revolution. But you know, it's
Busy
cool.
being outside.
You're too busy outside.
Yeah.
Exactly. So but That's cool. I can definitely share your email, or I can, if people want to reach out to me and ask for your contact info, I can share that. I'm not going to necessarily put it up for everyone to see.
That's
But
fair. Yeah. Thank you.
but okay, so the group LA It's Happening Queer is on Facebook, so
It
people
is.
can find that. And do you have to be a member of the group to participate, or do you welcome all? How I'm just
Yeah, our events are open, like you don't have to, we're a page, not a group. So like people can come and follow our page and learn about the events that we're doing and
awesome.
events. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, I appreciate your time so much, especially two times. But our first time, we were having a snowstorm and it was really windy and it was gross, and so our connection was not awesome. But so, Marguerite, thank you so much for hanging out with me twice, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the kids and for Replanova, and just the environment. I appreciate it so much. I don't mean that to be cheesy. I just like, everyone's not doing, you're literally dedicating your life to taking care of the earth. And I love you for that. I just think that's amazing. I think that's, it's very honorable. I'm not
Thank
going to
you.
cry.
Oh.
But I really appreciate that. You're such a great example for kids, and I'm so glad that you're working with them. So I wish you a great last week. I wish
Yeah.
you an awesome time in Florida. That is well earned.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then I can't wait to hear how the 4-H goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to tell you about it when I come back.
Yeah. All right. So thank you. I'm going to close this.